me for getting up after the majority leader. We got up kind of simultaneously. I was waiting to speak until after the amendment was adopted also, and I guess you just spotted him first. So where to begin? You know, this has been a very, very interesting debate, and it is educational, to say the least, to listen to the different conversations and the different points that were made throughout this debate. And I want to start by saying that I have great respect for my colleagues in this circle in both parties, whether you've been here for decades, as some of my colleagues have, or they're new to the chamber this year. And we all bring a great deal of intelligence and skill to the table. But I will tell you that this debate is a pure and complete illustration for me that there's just certain things that we should just not be doing. And right now, the question is still up in the air whether or not this particular course is mandated. The original bill was quite clear that it created a mandate for local school districts to provide for this financial management and financial literacy course, and also that it was required for graduation. The amendment that just passed a moment ago on a voice vote, the chairman indicated to me when I asked two different ways that it is no longer required. It is now has to be offered, but a student could choose from that course or others to meet the requirement. And I'm hearing from my own staff and others that that is not, in fact, the case, that it truly is a mandate still. I'm not really sure. I've read through the bill a couple of times. But what I would say about this more than anything is that in America, we have different levels of government for a reason. We have a federal government, we have a state government, we have municipal government, and we have local boards of education. And things like this, traditionally in our country, have been left up to the people closest to where the action is. A local board of education should be the lawmaking body that sets the policy for what education curriculum is in a town. And this conversation is a tremendous reason for that. I went around the room during the conversation, and I talked to half a dozen of my different colleagues, and every one of them had a different idea about what this course might actually be. And the bill says nothing other than the State Department of Education, central planning from our state government, from a state agency that I don't think should even exist, is going to ultimately determine what this policy is. But let me just say that the opinion about what the policy is varies wildly between people in this room, and their reasons for stating their support of this policy varies just as much. Some people are conceiving this course on financial literacy to be something that is going to be above and beyond what is taught in school already, so that people can manage their finances, maybe learn about the stock market, maybe learn how to invest their money more wisely. And other people perceive this to be the lowest common denominator of financial understanding for people that don't do well in school and don't understand math class. So they need to be offered something so they know how to make change and they can function in our world. Those are two wildly different things, Madam President. And the idea that people in this room don't even know which one that is, and it will be left up to the State Department of Education to decide. And here we are, praise after praise after praise about how we're doing something so wonderful. Let me just say, if it's the former, I don't know that putting a course that is so advanced in front of every student as a requirement makes sense. If you can't understand basic math, then what are you going to do with financial literacy? Maybe we should worry about making change first. And if it's the latter, and it's only a very limited course that is going to teach you how to make change or balance a checkbook, well then, what good is that to a student who is advanced in math, who doesn't need that training? This is why we leave it to local control. This is why we leave it to local school districts to decide what their curriculum should look like. Let me say that I'm as gravely concerned as anyone in this chamber about the quality of education in our state, particularly in our poorer, more urban communities. I know there are kids that are graduating from school who can't read, who can't do math, who don't have financial literacy. I know that. And bothers me as much as anyone in here, and I want to do something about it. But what I don't want to do is pat myself on the back that I achieved something by passing this bill. Because let me just say something. Passing a bill doesn't teach anyone anything. The fact of the matter is this body, and I mean all due respect, is clueless. None of us are teachers. I don't think we have any teachers in our circle. Oh, yes. Forgive me, Senator McCrory. We have one teacher. Two. Okay. All right. I take it all back. But the vast majority of us are not teachers. We're not in this industry. And I don't know that even among our teachers that they're teaching this type of course, or they have an idea what the SDE will come up with to develop such a curriculum. What should be happening is that local school districts should be making a determination about what is necessary that belongs in their curriculum and interjecting that into the system. There is a reason why we have local government. It is because it is proven to be much more effective than central planning, top-down, one-size-fits-all type of policies. Those are dangerous. When you get away from having individual school districts making policy for their schools, you end up with a uniform policy for everyone, and that doesn't work. Just in my Senate district alone, I represent 5 towns. But Wolcott, which is right next to Waterbury, they have nothing in common as far as their education system goes. One policy designed to fit both those schools is not going to work effectively. Those schools need to be able to make their own choices about what makes sense for them. And it is up to the people in those districts that are closest to them to help them make the right policy decisions. And I understand this sounds good. All education mandates sound good. All insurance mandates sound good. Let's make sure we have people covered for everything under the sun. But we've also learned what happens when you decide you're going to have coverage for this, and you have to have coverage for that, and you have to coverage for this, and coverage for that. The price goes up and up and up and up and up. And same thing is true with education mandates. When you keep putting mandates in, what happens is 2 things. One, you're generating expenses for the school district because they have to work around what you're telling them to do, instead of letting them make those decisions that they were elected for closer to the people than we are. And the other thing we're doing is we're crowding out what they want to do. Maybe the city of Waterbury has a better plan to make sure that their students are equipped to tackle these problems in the world, and that will go away because we're going to tell them, no, you have to make room for this half-credit course that the SDE is going to create, which we have no idea what it is. That's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. Our representative system that we have in this country has created so many advantages for us. It manages to retain the liberty of individual people to make good choices for themselves and their families, including deciding that they want to move themselves to another community because the type of education there suits them. When we limit the ability of those elected officials to do anything, and let me tell you that I talk to school board members all the time who feel like they have no more authority because so many years have gone by of the state mandating to them what they're supposed to be doing that they've lost sight of whether or not they have the ability to even make decisions on their own. I have a dear, dear friend who tells me all the time, well, you know, the school board is just an agent of the state. That's not true. Of course, the state incorporates the cities, and there's a recognition that we have a requirement in our state constitution that education has to be provided, and the mechanism is through those boards of education. So in that way, yes, they are agents of the state. But the statute, this very same statute that exists in, also says that the school districts, the school boards, have a supreme authority to determine what the curriculum is going to be. I don't mean to go on and on about this. And right now, I don't even know how I'm going to vote. Earlier today, when it was pointed out to me that this was a absolute mandate on the school districts that I represent, and that they would have no choice but to adopt whatever the State Department of Education comes up with for this course. And my immediate gut reaction was this is more like a consumer math course, something that teaches people how to make change, was no. The more advanced students in my school district don't need this class, and it's taking time from them being more prepared to go to college or wherever they're going to go. But now, I don't know. If it's a course that is just an option to graduate that can be chosen from among of other different options, then sure. Then it sounds like a great plan to me. But before we bring bills to this chamber, to pass them into law, for God's sakes, that's what we do here, and we can never lose sight of that what we do is so very important. We're just a bunch of random people, but when we come in here and we cast vote, we are changing lives. We are doing big things. We are not just, well, I think it's a good idea. You can't just think it's a good idea because you heard 3 seconds about it. It's about financial literacy. It's for school. It's good. No, that's not enough. It's required of us to understand what truly is happening, how that will impact our towns, our school districts, and our students. That's what's required of us. We should do our jobs better, and we should know what the bill actually says before we vote on it. Thank you, Madam President.